How do you present the grey morality of a civil war, but maintain a squeaky clean hero? Not an easy task for sure. However, not impossible either. If you want to see one attempt to solve this conundrum, you should turn to Measure of a Hero by Blaine Pardoe. Colonel Felix Blucher's orders from the Archon were simple enough: squash the Davion Loyalist uprising on Thorin. But Blucher never planned on facing the fearless Archer Christifori, local militia leader and decorated MechWarrior in the clan wars. As tensions rise between Blucher's Lyran alliance and the Davion Loyalist population, Archer is torn between obedience to the Archon or allegiance to his people. But when Blucher's forces go too far, Archer takes up the Loyalist cause and becomes commander of the rebel army. The final confrontation looms, and the rebels face long odds. But it takes more than mechs to win Thorin's freedom. It takes a hero. The book starts with an introduction that made me physical cringe. You know, this tensing up of the body if you feel really embarrassed or unpleasant. Because we basically get Christifori, how he is told by none other than Victor Steiner Davion himself how awesome he is as a soldier, that he was able to win against 6 clanners in one battle during the Huntress campaign, and that he is awarded with a Medal of Honor, a decoration that was not used for centuries. It is a blatant example of tell, don't show, and quite unpleasant to read, I have to say. I honestly believe if you would just scrap this introduction, the novel itself would improve. But one important thing happens. The death flag is hoisted for his sister, Andrea Christifori. He then returns to his home planet Thorin to command the local militia. However, he soon meets the garrison forces of the 15th Arcturian Guards under the command of Felix Blucher. Blaine Pardoe is here trying to square the circle. He wants to maintain his usual formula with a bland but good hero who is morally very upstanding. Yet he also has to show the fractured and uneasy nature of a civil war. To do so, he manages to pull off a few tricks. First, this is technically an inner Lyran war. The planet of Thorin is in the Isle of Skye region, which of course is part of the Lyran Alliance, and so all involved characters are Lyran. Felix Blucher, the enemy commander, is a very positive character, who is just in unfortunate circumstances. He is morally integer, he is upstanding, he is righteous, and he tries to do the right things. In fact, he is probably the most sympathetic character in the complete novel. To still have a motivation to follow the fight, we get the true villain. This one is Luther Fisk, the assistant to Blucher, a ruthless and conniving young noble who believes that an iron-handed approach is the best to stomp out all dissident against the Archon's rule. As a result, we then get to the reason for Archer to take up arms. His sister is a journalist on the planet and has some controversial and dissident viewpoints. And as a result, she ends up getting killed by Fisk. That is a bad twist for sure, but it gets even worse because after he is found guilty in a court-martial, he is pardoned by the Archon herself. In another novel, another book, another story, Christifori would use this as the sole motivation to rise up in arms. But Pardoe plays it safe. He delays the start of the rebellion until Victor Steiner Davion makes a broadcast that officially declares war against his sister Catherine. And so Archer has not only a good reason to fight, but also an opportunity. Does this work? Can we truly follow the story as intended? I have a few issues with that. There are strange details. For example, the last article of his sister that went unpublished is pretty extreme in its wording. She's more or less calling for open rebellion, which makes the story of the innocent victim of a brutal regime a bit tainted. Also, there's the habit of the charismatic and good rebels to call the Arcturian gods Lyrans. That's again also something strange. I mean, they are rebelling because the Archon is infringing the rights of aligned people and misusing their resources for her little war in the Federated Suns. If you're taking up arms to defend the ancient rights of the Lyran people, you would call yourself a Lyran and not the enemy. And of course, for some bizarre reason, Archer Christifori starts to use the Fat Sun ranks with his group of rebels. Why would you suddenly use the ranking system of a completely different nation if you claim for yourself to represent the true will of the people? And there's also the problem that Archer Christifori is such a great soldier that he never suffers a defeat. Even the most outlandish gamble will succeed. And after just a few engagements, you know that this will continue. This story is saved by the superior morality of this Pardoean hero. Because if he would be more edgier, more grimdark, more savage, the complete novel would drift into the realm of violence porn. But since he tries to keep the casualties even among the enemy low, we almost get a cartoonish quality to the fighting. It somewhat reminds me of a Tom and Jerry cartoon, to be honest. Christifori always wins and wins and wins, but he is gracious to the enemy and tries to save even their lives, which makes the book readable. The book is roughly separated in two parts. The first half is the setup and the preparation of the uprising, and the second half is a series of engagements, set pieces, and battles where Archer Christifori can truly show his prowess as a military commander. It is altogether not a grand story or epic tale. I would, without hesitation, classify it as dumb fun. So, if you just want to spend some time and read something about zombie robots, you can grab the book and you probably will enjoy it. If you're hoping for an emotional and dramatic tale that moves your heart, nope, this is not it. And while we're talking about cartoons, if you're interested in truly appreciating the tale of Archer Christifori, you would be well advised to familiarize yourself with BattleTech, the animated series, and the adventures of the first Somerset Strikers. And, as we all know, information is ammunition.